Today I'm turning one card sketch, some inky papers from my stash, and some gifted embellishments into 4 different card designs, plus a little bonus extra if you keep watching till the end. And if you would like to see a little bit more and hear about how I made these different card designs, and if you enjoy using up different elements from your crafty stash, then I think you're really going to enjoy today's video. Hi, I'm Jenny and this is Ginger Ninja Crafts. Now today's video is part of a collaboration and it's hosted by the very lovely Lisa over at the Crafting Diva. You'll find her linked in the description box below, and each month she sets us a little challenge where she gives us a sketch and we can make anything we like out of it. I quite often make cards because that's generally what I enjoy making. So this is our sketch for today. So I am just going to pause, face you down and show you what I am making. So this is our sketch for March the 1st, and so we've got a kind of different layers, the rectangle with a light and a bow and a sentiment. So I am going to start by making something that's flipped that way. So what I've done is I have pulled already a piece of this paper that I had stenciled with pixie powders. I wonder if I've got a bit I've not cut up. This is the reverse of it. So this was the bit that I did. I put the stencil down, I put the pixie powders through, and then I flipped the stencil over after I'd sprayed it with water. So this is the reverse, if you like, of the stencil, with the pixie powders were on the back. And I have already matted it on a piece of red card. I've cut it down that side, so I've got a piece of white and the red layer, and I've got this. But this feels, well, let me see. That feels awfully red behind it, and that feels very white. So I think what I'm going to do is do maybe some very pale stamping around the edge. Okay, so I've got this stamp set, which I think it came with a magazine, and it's spring foliage, and I quite like this sort of flourishy kind of one, but maybe it's a bit big. Maybe I go with this, and I don't want it to be too dark. I want it to be very pale. So I've got a stamping block. I've got this grey flannel, but I know it is a bit dark, this grey. So let me just, I'm going to try it out and see what a second generation is like. So this is just a bit of scrap paper I've got there. So that's too dark. That's quite nice. So that's what I'm going to go for. Just kind of oh, that's the wrong blooming ink. That'll be a disaster. That's the black. Okay. So, first generation. Second generation. First generation. Second generation. Now I do need to put a sentiment on this backing as well, so my aim is that it's so kind of subtle and pale. I can stamp a sentiment in black ink on the top and it will be fine. So we shall see. So yeah. So I am filming this on Saturday morning, and I had a lovely night out last night. My husband and I, we got the train into town, and we went for some food, And then we went to see this light show, which was beautiful. It was actually in the hall that I graduated from university in back in the 90s, called the McEwen Hall. It's a beautiful hall, part of Edinburgh University. Not that I studied at Edinburgh University, but that's where we used anyway. And they had this 360-degree light projection, all over the interior of the hall. So we went in and there was beanbags on the floor, which was interesting. But yeah, we lay on the beanbags and we watched this for half an hour, these gorgeous projections to Four Seasons by Vivaldi, and it was so relaxing. It was lovely. Really, really nice. What a lovely start to the weekend. Now, let me see how much of this. Yeah, that's probably as much as is going to be seen. So yeah, that was such a nice start to the weekend, and then we got a bus home because we were kind of far away from the train station. So, but hadn't left ourselves time to get the bus in, so we got the train. So, yeah, I think that would do. So I'm going to glue this down. And then once I've done this, I'll show you the other projects that I've made. Because I decided to sort of challenge myself to try and do a few different cards for this sketch, because, well, especially once I've pulled out my sort of inky papers, I have got a lot. So it kind of made sense to try and use a few of those up. So let me remind myself what this is going to be like. So my sentiment's going to go up here. I've got this here with the line, and I was going to try and do a circle card, but I decided that was a step too far, I decided. So I've also grabbed some different kinds of embellishments that were in my bit box. So this is one option I've got. I'm not sure if I've quite got the colours, but I've got some flowers that somebody gifted me. And I've got this little toadstool, which I think I possibly made and didn't use it. I quite often make more than I need for crafty things, and then they are leftovers. So this is one option. Or I've still got some of these lovely flowers with the buttons, which I think came from the Crafty Seas. Bit of silent. I think I'm going towards this, but what would... Yeah, I think because I've got the sort of florally bit, and maybe I could put a couple of those in there. That's quite nice, isn't it? Yes, I'm just going to go for it. Or, oh, this has just got a wee bit blue on it. That's the only reason I'm thinking of that. But that one, it's got the sort of black and grey, and it's got the red Right, I'm going to stick these down. So let me just put those on there. And so that is those elements. And now I just need my sentiment up here. And I think I could just stamp onto that background. Goodness. So should I make it a happy birthday, or I'm thinking maybe a thank you, because they are always handy to have. These are lots of Christmassy ones, but what's on this? Christmas. They're a wee bit kind of no. Let me have a wee rummage for another stamp. I've got a really nice stamp set for thank yous actually. This. Now I got it in South Africa, I think a long time ago. But I really like it. So maybe what would this one be like? Yeah. Something a wee bit chunky, because the flowers are quite chunky and this has got a bit of detail to it, so I would like something that is going to stand out. Let me just double check on the background that it's not got a chunk out of it or something. Oh, there's a wee dot on that. Well, I can fill that in with a black pen. So there we go. And there is just a tiny little dot there. Right. Maybe a little Nouveau drop. I think a little Nouveau drop. Okay, so there is a tiny bit of gold. I don't want to do black. I've got this red shimmery and there is a tiny touch of gold, but I think I might just stick with the red. If I can get it out. Oh, I think there's got a blockage. A blockage in my red. Okay, so let me see what else I've got. Actually, I think I've got a backup. I have a backup. Okay, so that is my take on the sketch upside down. Let me just pause and set up and I'll show you all the other ones that I've made. Okay, so this is the one that I did which was upside down and on the rectangle, and then this one was just like the sketch really. So I used the same kind of flower. This was another piece of the same basically effect of paper, but I had used blues and sort of turquoises there, again with pixie powders. And then, I don't know if you can see the white I've used for this, I have run it through an embossing folder, which is also a sort of tartany check. It's actually very similar, although I think this is tattered lace and this was, I think it's a Tim Holtz one, but anyway, I've added a few little Nouveau drops and a happy birthday sentiment, and this is on like a decal-edged card, and I think I quite like the deckled edge just peeking out behind that. I did add a bit of, for both of these, I've added a wee bit of extra matting and layering just to kind of help those pieces of patterned paper or embossed paper kind of stand out a bit. And I just used one of the blue flowers there. So this is the one that's kind of as per the sketch. And again, I've used flower from my stash, paper that I had previously made, and I just heat embossed a little scrap of white card for that one. And then, let me swap things about. Then I did one on a square. So this one, it's the same paper. I just added navy with the white card there, and I didn't do anything to this one apart from the sentiment with the navel drops, which are on here as well. And this time I just popped 3 of the flowers down. So I didn't do a line and then a focal image. I just did the 3 flowers as if they were making that that line which is in the sketch. And I love a square card, so I had to do a square one. But yeah, they're lovely, these flowers. Really nice. I think maybe Crafty Seas used some of the papers that were in their stash and stamped and cut them out. Gorgeous. And then I did a little one. So this was made with navy cardstock, and this paper is actually a bit of, I think it was like Yupo postcards or something. When I first bought alcohol inks several years ago, I think it came with a little pack of maybe 4 or 5 pieces of Yupo cardstock, and I still had them. Hadn't used them because I was hoarding them. Where's the one? This one is, I don't know what I could do with this. I love the colours so much. Anyway, that's by the by. So this flower was one of the ones that I showed you. Somebody sent it to me. I've got a few of them in different colours. It came with the little silver dot in the middle, and I loved that. Rather than splitting this paper or putting a line, I just added a couple of little bits of foliage to give that effect. And obviously I've turned the sketch like that. And then I've added a little thank you on there. The background here is, again, run through an embossing folder, and I just added a little bit of ink to just kind of tie in the blue there. And then, ta-da! It had a baby. I did a little ETC to kind of match. So I had a different style of flower from that same. I used another little piece of this alcohol ink Yupo, a little bit of scrap of the embossing, the same with the navy, and from the same stamp set it had a little today, and this one was the thank you, so I just used that. I always like it when people, if I get an ETC and somebody's actually done a matching card for it, I think that's so cool. So I think I maybe have done it before, but I can't remember. So I've done it. It makes me think of Andrea, the company and crafter, because she quite often does an ETC to go in with the sketch challenge project. So that is my 4 cards and a bonus ETC, all from the one sketch, but they all look, well, these 2 look pretty similar, but I think the rest of them look a wee bit different just by turning it upside down, on its side, on a different shaped card. It's amazing what you can do with a sketch. So I cannot wait to see what everybody else has done with theirs. Be sure and check out the description box below, where you will find a list of everybody who has been involved in this collaboration, and they will all be putting up videos as well, so you can get even more ideas for what you can do with a sketch. If you would like to join in, all you need to do is, when you share your project, use this hashtag SketchChallenge2026 and tag Lisa, who is the Crafting Diva, and then she will know that you've joined in as well. So thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to see you again the next time, and if you've enjoyed, please leave me a like and a comment. It would make my day. Thanks so much. Bye now.